Okay, as in this video, we are going to see what are the types of structures. So before that, we have to know what is structure. What is structure? Structure is nothing but a construction, a form, the construction or any object is well termed as structure. Yes. So constructing a component, constructing object using components in a specific location or ground. So that is termed as structure. So here we have types of structures based on the transfer of load. Based on the components, we have two types of structure. As I already told in the previous lecture, right? What are the two types of structures based on the components? First, what is components? Components are foundation, plinth beam, beams, columns, floors, windows, floors, roofs, slabs. So everything comes under components. So based on the components, we have two types of structure. That is, one is superstructure, another one is substructure. What is superstructure? The structure which is constructed above the ground level known as superstructure, and the construction which is below the ground level, that is underneath ground level, that is substructure. In substructure we have two substructures, foundation and plinth beam. So these two structures will be under the ground, so you can't able to see those structures, right? Those construction of foundation and plinth beam, but you can able to see walls, walls and all other components. So these all comes under superstructure. But here we have different kinds of another structures like load bearing structures, framed structures, composite structures. In this lecture we are not going to study about the structure which is based on components, but the structure which is based on the transferring of the load. What is load? It's a kind of force that is acting on a structure. So load may act vertically, horizontally, or inclinedly. Okay. So we have various types of loads: dead loads, live loads, wind loads, snow loads. These are the loads which is acting directly on the structure. What is live load? Live load is nothing but the load which is variable, that means if a person is moving, the moving load, we can tell moving load as live load. Dead load is nothing but the load which is a self weight of a structure. If for example, if this mic has some self weight, right? So for example, if we tell this mic's weight is about 500 grams or to 1 kilogram, okay, 1 kilogram. So that 1 kilogram is inbuilt into this mic, according to which how to say, according to its size, according to its shape, and according to its all these kinds of things. So it consists some type of some kind of weight. So that kind of weight we can term as dead load. So as like structure also, it consists some weights. So if we construct a wall using bricks, brick has some brick has some kind of weight in it. So these all kinds of weights comes under dead load. Live load, we are some objects which is not fixed at a position, which is a movable thing, which is variable. So those kinds of loads can be termed as live load. Okay. So these are the loads. So according to the load transfer from the building to the foundation, we have three types of structure. That is, one is load bearing structure, framed structure, and composite structure. As you can see in this presentation, you can see three types of structure: load bearing structure, framed structure, and composite structure. So we are going to study detailedly about these kinds of structure. What is load bearing? Load bearing is nothing but the loads directly transfers to the walls. Wall transfer the load to soil. Okay, so load bearing structure is nothing but, see the load, once again, see the load which is acting, which is from the top of the roof or in this floor slab, the load which is directly transfers to the wall, and the wall transfers the load to the below foundation. So these types of structures are known as load bearing structures. So these types of structures are suitable up to 2 stories only. What is 2 stories? Ground floor and first floor, second floor. See these 2 stories only. Okay. This construction is adopted where hard strata is available at shallow depths. That means shallow depths means what? Very small depth. At a small depth itself, we get a hard strata. Hard strata means the soil is very hard. We cannot able to dig it up even more because soil is very hard. Okay, so at the types of hard stratas when is available at shallow depths, when in small depths itself we get a start hard strata means this kind of constructions are adopted. Okay, so nowadays load bearing structure is not generally commonly used in all kinds of constructions. Nowadays we are generally mainly we are constructing using frame structures only. Okay, so no need to worry about it, just for a knowledge. So frame structure is nothing but load is transferred through a frame of slab, beam, column and footing to soil. As you can see, slab, beam, column and footing to soil. What is frame? Frame is nothing but a structure, okay, which is held like this. This is called as frame. A column, two columns supports a horizontal beam. Two vertical components supports a horizontal component. So this load acts on the horizontal component, transfers the load to the vertical components, and this vertical components transfers the loads to the footing, that is nothing but the foundation, and this foundation distributes this load to the soil below this. So framed structure is nothing but the construction of a structure which consists a slab, a beam below that, a column and the footing of the soil. Okay, understand? You can see in this picture, see here we have a slab, a beam under it, a column, footing. This is frame structure. Okay, so where frame structures are used, multi-story buildings or more than understory buildings are constructed using frame structure. We can go for multi-story buildings if we go for frame structures. And walls do not carry, this is important point, walls do not carry load except their self weight. So the walls, the work of the walls, the duty of the walls in the frame structure is nothing but the walls do not carry any load or transfer any load to the foundation. It just used for partition of the walls or to cover a building or just only. But it has some load, that is nothing but its self weight. Okay, that is what self weight. Next, composite structures. Composite combination of load bearing and framed structure. Composite structure is nothing but combination of these two. Okay, so combination of two structures means what will happen is what is then what that does the what it means um, the load will transfer through the columns, beams, frame structures, the structures which have slab, beam, columns through that frame also, and some partial loads will transfer through the walls also. Walls also take the some loads and transfer it to it. Okay. So as we go to the advantages and disadvantages of composite structures, you may able to clearly understand what is all about composite structures. So now you able to understand clearly the concept, right? What is the type of structures based on loads transfer, load transfer. Three types of structures: load bearing structure, frame structure, and composite structures. Okay. Next, see you can see some pictures. I have take some pictures from the internet so that you can able to understand it clearly. See this load bearing structure. We have roofs. The roofs, the loads from the roofs is directly transfers to the wall and it transfers to the foundation. But here in the frame structure, what is happening? Frame structure, the load which is acting on the slab directly transfers to the beams, and the beam which transfers to the adjacent columns, and this column transfers to the soil. Okay, so this is all about your load bearing walls and frame structures. Okay, so some aspects, some difference according to this, according difference between load bearing structure, frame structure and composite structure. based on some aspects like soil condition, floor space, height, based on the time, economy, flexibility in planning. Based on these aspects, we can differentiate between load bearing structure, frame structure, and composite structures. Okay. So based on soil conditions, load bearing structure is suitable for hard strata or available at shallow depth. Already told you. So it is suitable for hard strata, which is where there is a shallow in the shallow depth itself we get hard strata. Frame structure according to soil conduction, frame structure is suitable for any type at any depth. We can go for 25 deep feet of depth or 50 feet of depth. For any kinds of depth, frame structure is suitable. Composite structure is suitable for hardening wire recovered at shallow depth. So at the shallow depth, when we are going for a composite structure is for hardening, suitable for hardening wire required at shallow depth. So at shallow depths, see, you are planned for a construction of a four-story building or the building which is very high, but sometimes unfortunately you are getting a hard strata at the shallow depth. What you will do is you will put some extra reinforcement in it to get more stable withstanding of the building. So in that type of situation, you will go for composite structures which is suitable for hardening wire required as at shallow hardening wire required at shallow depth. Okay. Floor space. The next aspect is floor space. Low floor area is are available due to thick walls. Low floor area is available because the walls which carries the load transfers the load in the load bearing structure. So the walls are constructed very thick. Okay, very thick. So what will happen? You will get very floor area will be reduced. Okay, and more floor area due to thinner walls. We get in frame structure we get more floor area, but in load bearing structure we get low floor area. In composite structure it is intermediate, which will not have any which is between the frame structure floor space and load bearing floor space. That is nothing but the area will not be we can't expect very more or low. Height. Next aspect is height. Up to 4 stories are allowed. So only up to 4 stories are allowed in load bearing structures. Multi-story construction is possible. So mostly 2 stories structures for composite structures. Time, slow and time consuming. It will consume more time. Less time is required for construction of frame structures. Intermediate time is nothing but just common to both. Okay, it is not more or less. Economy. Economic means how much it will cost. Affordable. It is very affordable. Okay. Economical for multi-story, which is very economical when we go for multi-story buildings. Okay, we can't tell for a single story building or for a two-story building it is very economical. But if you go for multi-story buildings, it is economical. Less expensive than frame structure. In composite structure, it is less expensive. It is less expensive only. Okay. Flexibility in planning. While planning, how much flexibility it will give in load bearing structure, frame structure, and composite structure. In load bearing structure, less flexible. In frame structure, it will be more flexible only because the planning will be very easy because the walls do not carry the loads. So we can use the walls for only covering and for partitions aspects. Okay. In the compound structure, internal arrangements can be modified. We can arrange the internal structures. We couldn't we There is no need of worrying about the load transfer. We can arrange the structures as much as possible in composite structures. Okay. Next, advantages of load bearing. The load bearing structure constructed is highly durable and solid. It's highly durable and solid. These types of structures have high fire resistance. Yeah, it's having high fire resistance. Masonry units are available in various colors and structures, which gives freedom of creativity. So we masonry units like bricks, stones. These are all masonry units. So various colors. So we can go for very creativity ideas and appearance aesthetically, which is be appearance beautiful. These structures do not require advanced preparation, do not have to go for advanced preparation and all. They are aesthetically appealing, as I already told you. It will be very beautiful, can go for beautiful. Tools and equipment used for masonry construction are simple and cheap. The tools which we can have very simple tools and cheap tools for construction of load bearing structures. Disadvantages: these structures perform purely during earthquake action, which is very pure in earthquake. This construction employs more labor, we need more labors. This masonry structure is slow, very slow. As I already told you, it's time consuming. They consume a large number of masonry units. We need more bricks and for bricks and stones or any other masonry units for construction of walls. And the cost of total masonry units used to construct these structures makes it unreliable, very cost. The structure has more weight, so weight is very more considerably. Thermal insulation properties of the structures are very poor, so heat resistance, and the heat comes into the heat which we feel inside the house, that heat insulation is very poor. Okay, so when we go for load bearing structures, next frame structures. Columns and footings are compression members of the frames. So the footings and columns will take the compressive loads, so no need to worry of compressing loads. Walls do not carry the load except their own weight, which does transfer to the beam on which they are supported. Thus the wall serves the purpose of enclosing the structure. So walls serves the purpose of enclosing structures only. Okay, these types of structures can be multiplied multi-story buildings, so more than 100-story buildings can be constructed using frame structures. Frames can be constructed using reinforced cement, concrete or steel. Speed is very faster, construction speed is faster, and due to the use of precast concrete members, ready mix concrete, the speed of construction can be further increased. If you use precast concrete, what is precast concrete? Precast concrete is nothing but the concrete which is casted in the factory. For example, if you want to construct a beam, the beam will be casted in the factory itself. It will be ready-madely transferred or erected in the site, transferred to the site, erected, and just we will fix it. So it will further increase the speed of construction. Okay, if rigid wires are not available at construction depth, pile foundation or raft foundation may be employed overload bearing structures. For overload bearing structures, we can go for pile foundation or raft. What is pile foundation? The pile foundation, which is a foundation which is made for more depth, we'll go for pile foundation. Raft foundation is the foundation which is nothing but we can call it as also mat foundation. Many in a single mat we can able to put accompany more columns. Okay, what is disadvantage? Only one disadvantage: spans greater than 40 feet can cause lateral deflections. They are weight than traditional materials. So structures made of composites are easy to carry and install. So very easy to carry and install, and it's flexible. Engineers can design structures according to their requirements. So according to the requirements, engineers can design structures. So how the engineers will design structure? So they will structure according to the number of members that is going to, according to the type of building first. What are the type of building? So in hospital, if we take hospital means many patients will come, so according to that they will design the structure. If we take a residential building, according to the family members, so some residential buildings they may have four members of family, so according to them they will design the structure according to the earthquake prone and the earthquake prone zones, according to the earthquake the vibrations, according to that waves they will consider the design. According to the wind they will consider the design. So according these two, for these all these things they will consider, engineers will can consider the design. Okay, so it's very flexible while we go for composite structure. And some of the disadvantages are: construction of the structure is highly economical, it's very economical, and we need very high skilled labors for construction. Okay, so that's all about today's class. Okay, so what and all we have studied in this video lecture, let us go through what are the types of structure, and what is all about it. We studied it detailedly. What is structure, what is load, we have studied detailedly. Yes, and what are the aspects according to the load bearing frame and composite structures. and their advantages and disadvantages. So this we have studied in this video lectures. Like to ask you to like my videos, subscribe my videos, so for you can get more updates and notifications about my upcoming videos. Thank you.